Aphiemi. 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 The word Jesus uses in several places in Mark, in the early stages, and it means very simply, in one place, when the fisherman, he invites them to follow him, he says, Aphiemi. It means leave what you're doing and come with me now. Not tomorrow, now. In the later place, in the gospel reading this morning, when it talks about the fever leaving Simon Peter's mother-in-law, he uses the word aphiemi, leave, to the fever. Fever leaves immediately. Later on in this, when the demons come, Jesus says aphiemi. He does not allow them or permit them to speak. And so the demons leave immediately. Later on in the next sections, especially in chapter 2, the word aphiemi will be used by Jesus every single time to offer forgiveness to people. Aphiemi. You're done with it now. You're not going to think about it anymore. You're cut off from the past. You're going to live in the future. And you're going to start now. Aphiemi. That will be your word and your mantra for this week. And you will not forget it. Because the past can come back and bite you. And it does frequently. You know what it means to let the past come into your head and play around with you over and over and over again and impact and affect you in some ways which are both hurtful and useless and debilitating to your life. We all know what a demon is. I must tell you, I was sent to my room again. Yeah, those of you who are new, occasionally my family sends me to my room when I'm getting on a roll. Bad attitude. Well, I did a stupid thing. I watched Fox News for an hour. And then to try to be egalitarian, I watched MSNBC for an hour. Besides sucking the brain out of my head, I also got entirely unintelligible thought, opinion, wrong thoughts, wrong information, wrong everything. What did it do? It impacted my conversation with my family. I took it out on them because you can't get back and yell at a talking head. So they did what's called aphiemi. And then it was done. Talking to a member of our congregation, works for a company, and they downsized. You know, the economy's doing so well. But we are coming into the end of the first quarter, and we need to show profits. So we need to cut staff, and so they did. In his office, they cut staff. And it's a shame because the staff really was very coherent and very workable and very functional. You know how sometimes you get in a job where the teamwork is like so outstanding and so terrific that it becomes part of your community in a very healthy way? And they just chopped and cut and macerated. Macerated by the way means chewing up and spitting out. Okay? For his office went from 20-some people down to 3. Now, of course, those 3 have to do the same work as the others, and it's virtually impossible. It can't be done. So then they will eventually merge into another office, and you know the drill. Anyhow, what happened, a wonderful community living in a workplace had become a place of maceration, of being chewed up and spit out for reasons quite beyond their understanding, although they understand the need for third quarter profit reporting. In any case, the only way that they will survive that is by means of aphiemi. What is done is done. There is no going back. We move from here and live. You have that in your family life, as well as I do, where there are times and occasions when things just seem to be falling apart and not functioning very well, and all of a sudden, everybody knows it, and you just have to cut it off now. What is done is done. The hard words which have been said are done. It is finished. Aphiemi. Move on now. And that is how Jesus handled the demons in people's lives in his day. He said, what is past is past. What is hurtful to you personally means that you are going to be hurtful to other people. If you have a lousy day at work or you have something going on somewhere else and you import it into your house or into your coffee clutch, you know that that community to which you belong is going to be diminished and also hurt by the demon which has infected you. And that then is where you and I come in, because our calling is to be exorcisers of demons. You'll notice in the second lesson, I hope you read that for yourself. The word gospel is used by St. Paul. Literally, the translation is good news, which is to say that the reason Jesus came to the world in the first place, and the only reason he came, was to be good news. Not to be gospel, which is a nice churchy word, and because it's so churchy and so vague and remote to our English language, it's very easy to let it get lost. But if I say to you, Carmelo, your job in this world is to be good news, that's pretty specific. If you say to me, Harding, your job is to be good news, you have aphiated me. And you have said that is your specific calling in this world as a follower of Jesus. If you just say, oh, practice the gospel, you see how you can evade that because of the differences in the English language from Greek? But your call and mine is to be specifically good news in the midst of bad news. And the only way that you can be a good news person is to confront that which is bad news. And what Jesus did here to show us how to go about doing that is by confronting the bad news immediately and not letting it fester. Because the longer things fester in the past, the more power they will have over us. Because we will relive the past over and over and over again. And that is why he said that when we are afflicted by demons, the possession is so desperate sometimes that we're acting today because of events that happened 10, 15, 18, 25 years ago. What matters for you and for me is that Jesus has come as the giver of a gift called good news. And the good news is very simply that you have been created by God simply because he chose to do it. And whether you're lovable or not is totally irrelevant to him. What does matter, however, is that because you have been created by God in his image, that he works very diligently through Jesus and the Spirit to somehow help you to reflect his image. And what is his image? It's really simple. It is looking at life as good news. Appreciating the fact of a little kid who's going to get baptized. Yes, exactly, Carmelo. You got the idea, boy. Yeah. It's accepting the fact that we're going to have rain, maybe later ice, maybe later snow. What's the good news there? Huh?
Stay home.
Right? Potentially you can stay home and have an excuse to do that. The other possibility, and the thing you think about, since we're all on wells, right? That's good news. That's why we all yell at our children when their showers are too long. because God gives good news and we want to preserve that good news. But you get the idea. Part of your calling as a follower of Jesus is to be a practitioner of good news in whatever circumstance you find it, however it comes to you. And it's always in community. You know you're going to be possessed by a demon when you're breaking up the community in which you live and reside. All right, that could be your family, it could be your workplace, it could be a Little League nonprofit organization or something like that. I know some people are freaked out because their neighbors have changed so much that they don't know any of their neighbors anymore. And they're afraid of the neighborhood now that they used to live in and be comfortable in. And, you know, what do you suggest to a circumstance like that? Afiemi. Yes. And the practical implication of that, in order to be good news, is to actually go and introduce yourself. It's always about good news. Always. You have been given the best of news, namely that you are well loved, well cared for, that your present circumstance is filled with goodness and graciousness, and all you have to do is look around and you can all see yourselves. I mean, it's nice getting together because we're all pretty good together. That's good news. Yeah, even when we're a little dopey, we're still pretty good together. You know, that's true in your families. It's true at work. Always the good news. And anything that impacts you in a negative, unwholesome, unhealthy, breaking your community up, lets you know you're obsessed or possessed by a demon. And it must be met by Afiemi. All the time. Cut off immediately. And handled immediately. Which means sometimes you're going to end up in confrontations. But better now than letting it fester and rot, because it'll just take longer to handle later on than it will now. So that is the good news for all of us. Afiemi. Live today and tomorrow. The past is forgiven. You have a new, fresh start today. That's pretty good news. Amen.